Hello, hello. Welcome to the next episode of Get to Know the Track series, this time in Laguna Seca. And yeah, once again in the Audi. And this time I'm trying things a little bit differently as I did before, because the videos were quite long, and yeah, I don't think it was very beneficial of you watching me try to do some proper laps in VR, because I can't drive and talk at the same time anyway, so I got ahead and did some laps off video, and we're going to jump straight. Actually, we are already in the replay, and we are going to check out one of the fastest laps, and I'll talk you through the track. So yeah, enjoy, and let's get to it. Alright, here we go, starting the first lap, first kinks coming up to T1. I'm going to pause the video around here, actually a bit more further around here, and slow it down. Maybe I should have stopped before. Alright, this should be enough. So as you're coming to T1, you have excellent braking point markers here in those boards here, as well as the red and white curb on the right and the beginning of this asphalt patch and that white line over here. Those are all excellent braking point markers for T1. And yeah, it's a very hard braking area. I usually aim to brake a couple of meters after this curb and this asphalt patch here meet, and try to extend the lap, the track to the outside as much as possible. Except in wet conditions. If you are in wet conditions, this part of the track is very slippery, so avoid it at all costs. So let's go ahead, and yeah, we'll see around here. I start braking. As you can see, I'm fully on the brakes. Actually, here I get to the brakes fully. And yeah, it's just a simple brake-in. And as for when to turn in, it's a bit maybe hard to spot in. I mean, not that hard to spot the turn-in marker. I use this white line again here. That's usually when I start turning into the corner. And I don't aim directly at this left curb. I go a bit wide around it, as you will see, and then turn it in tighter for the second apex, because this is a double apex corner. Actually, I did go a little bit wide on this attempt. You could go like a couple of half a car widths more inward. But yeah, when you're around half distance between those two curbs here, you want to start going on the throttle. As you can see, I am doing as well. Yeah, then just ride this inside curb hard, just avoid the sausage here. And as for your exit point, it's hidden behind the A pillar in the Audi, but your exit point should be towards the end of this curb on the right here. As you can see, I'm already fully on the throttle. I'm letting the car slide out, and I ride over this curb. It's completely safe, just don't go too wide. There is sand afterwards, and you will be slowed down by it very much. When you come off this curb, start moving to the left, start aiming for the number 2 or between the number 3 and 2 boards here. And your next braking point marker is again the number 2 board, but this can be knocked off, so you can use this patch of gray, the beginning of the gray sand here as your braking point marker. That's when you want to start going on the brakes, or actually a bit sooner. But yeah, actually you want to go on the brakes at the number 2, but you can use this as the braking point marker. Maybe you can push your braking point a bit further deeper in and trail brake around the corner. It's a rather slow corner. We are still in a kind of a slow part of Laguna Seca. Again, you can take a lot of this inside curb. I did run a little bit wide here, but you can take a lot of this curb. And as your exit, I use this white spot here as my reference point. where I want to go. Sorry, went back a bit too far. So as you can see, no, sorry, didn't want to do that. Meant to do that. As I come towards the end of this red and white curb, I start turning in. If I go in the correct direction, I could have turned a bit more, introduced a bit more steering lock. It's quite a slippery corner, so once you're wide, you don't have to slow down quite a bit to get it in. And when you're on the apex, when you reach the apex, or when you start coming close to this sausage curb on the inside, you want to start going on the throttle slowly, not too fast. The back end does tend to step out here. As you saw, I had to correct it a little bit. It is a bit tail end happy in this corner. So as you see, I have to reduce my steering lock to catch the back end. And yeah, as for exit, I aim for this white stuff here. And yeah, you want to go again over the curb here on the left. And next, run down to the next corner. Here it's even trickier if those things are gone when you need to go on the brakes. It's a rather fast corner, so you don't have to brake that much. But towards the end of the right in the middle of the 1 and 2 boards, but when those are gone, it's going to be hard to use those as a braking marker. So I've kind of focused on towards the end of this red and white curb to go on the brakes briefly, and don't even brake fully, and then just turn the car in, aim for the inside curb again, and again as you approach the this sausage curb here, you want to start going on the throttle. Be careful not to hit it. This was actually quite as close as you can get, maybe a little bit closer by a couple of centimeters, but that's it. As for exit point, again, kind of use this ending of this gray patch of sand, and yeah, again, go on the outside curb as much as you can. This was a bit tight for me, so I could have gone a bit deeper. So running up to the next corner, again, you want to brake somewhere between the number 3 and number 2 boards. If those are gone, you can use this white patch here on the fence. And it's again a rather heavy braking area. As you can see, I'm braking just before this white patch, so right between the number 2 and number 3 boards. And again, I use the end of this curb on the right as a braking point marker. This corner is very tricky if you don't take it right. I mean, you can lose a lot of time, but as you can already see, the track is leaning to the left, which means you will be pulled around it as long as you keep it tight on the inside. You don't want to run wide here. If you run wide, you will lose a whole lot of time. But if you keep it tight on the curb, you will be turned through the corner by the geometry of the track, which is quite nice, and you can take a lot more speed than you would think through this corner. I am maybe going a bit slow here, because as you see, I ran wide, so that's a really bad example on how not to do this. I mean, that's a really good example on how not to do this. You want to go over the curb, and once you reach the end of the curb, so once again, a bit faster, turn in here, go off the brakes, and yeah, again in the middle of this sausage curb here, you want to go back on the throttle and just ride it out. As for exit, you can use this curb here. Just be careful if you go over it, it will bump you around really hard. You can spin out here. It's quite easy to spin out here. And even if you don't spin out, the sand will just properly slow you down, and you don't want that. So yeah, let me try and find a better example of this corner. Just a moment. So yeah, here is a better line through the corner. It's still not perfect, but a lot better. As you see, as I'm coming off the curb on the right, I'm off the brakes. I start turning in, and I go deep into the curb. I could go well inside on this curb. It's even better if you do. And yeah, and the exit of the inside curb should be around the middle of this all white curb, but you should be fully on the throttle here. Let the car slide out, but again, not too much. It's actually a very good, I could have gone, a good example, I could have gone a little bit deeper on this curb, but yeah. It is what it is. Alright, on to the next one. Alright, here we go, on to the next corner. Your braking markers are again the number 2 board, number 1 board, and these white spots here, because the boards are really not that visible, especially the 1 board. When you're coming up to the corner, it's quite far ahead there and a little bit hidden maybe by the geometry of the track. But these white, not this one, that's one too close, but this one here is quite good and visible. That's where you want to go on the brakes. You come under the bridge, and here, as you can see, a bit before it, around number 2 board, I start going on the brakes. I was maybe a bit conservative in this lap, but yeah. Don't brake too hard for this. It's a rather fast corner. Again, it has a nice camber to it, so you can carry a lot of speed through here. I was having difficulties with this corner at the beginning. I was taking it far too slow, as I should have. But as I take it, I brake down, I kind of let the car coast to the apex here, just, or maybe even add a little bit of throttle to get even more speed through here. The curb will turn you around quite nicely. Nice. Yeah, as for exit, again, you can go very deep over the curb. That was maybe almost a bit over, but it was still in the legal zones. So that's right about everything that you can get from this corner here. I could have gone a bit tighter on the inside here, and yeah, the exit was just right on the spot. Alright, let's go to the famous corkscrew now. Yeah, coming up to the famous corkscrew. Let's pause the video right here, slow it down for the next section, or next part of the video. So the braking board markers are clearly visible here. It's this number 2 board and this white spot on the fence. So if this goes away, you can focus on this, or just focus on the white spots from the beginning, so you won't have to readjust your driving once those get knocked out. So right before you get to the number 2 board, you want to go on the brakes, maybe a bit sooner, maybe it is a bit conservative, maybe a bit earlier. Again, it all depends on your setup and car. But be careful here, the track goes over a crest, so the car does get very light and you can lock up very easily. So here I'm fully on the brakes, and I start going over the crest, I come off the brakes a little bit, and then go back on the brakes again before starting to trail brake into the corkscrew. As for the line, yeah, this isn't exactly the best line that I've taken here. You want to, when you get over the crest, you want to go a bit more to the right. I'm still in an okay position here, but I'm pointing directly towards the apex already here. I should have gone a bit more to the right here, but I didn't. Unfortunately, I did steer a little bit, but not enough. So more steering lock, get the car turned in to the right a little bit more, extend that entry to the corner, and yeah. When you get to the end of this curb on the right again, that should be your visual reference to turn in. You want to aim for this inside curb, and you can run over it quite a bit, as you'll see here. I'm going over it completely. Could have even gotten a bit more on the inside, and As for the next part, it's completely invisible. See, you don't see the inside at all. So it's maybe a bit hard to spot. Maybe you can use this Marshall here on at the front of you when you want to start turning right. But again, you can turn right quite aggressively because the curb is again very deep and you can run over it quite a lot. As again you can see here, I'm going over it completely. I could have gone maybe a bit more to the inside, and yeah, just let the car go out wide here. Maybe not too wide, so around 2/3 to the left, something like that. But it's a pretty safe corner once you're at this point. Maybe if your setup is a bit tail end happy, you can still spin out, but usually it's very safe, I would say. But as well as you have this nice camber in the corkscrew, so it does pull you around quite nicely. As for throttle, as you can see, I am here coming off the brakes, off the brakes, off the brakes, and I'm off the brakes here completely. And as soon as I am on this curb, I start going on the throttle, and I go on the throttle fully, full throttle, still full throttle, and second gear. I did go a bit tight here. I could have gone a bit more to the outside, but it's still okay. It's still an okay line. As long as you don't go too wide here, you're still safe. So coming up to the next corner, again, this is a blind corner because you don't see the apex. It's hidden behind these trees, and for me as well behind the A-pillar. Good thing I'm in VR. But as soon as I start approaching this curb on the right, I start to turn towards the corner, and when I'm yeah, about a couple of meters after the beginning of the curb, I add some brakes. I don't brake too long, just I don't know, maybe third quarter of this curb on the right. Then I start coming off the brakes and back on the throttle and aim for this inside curb because again it has a very nice camber to it. It will pull you around. Again, a very tricky corner from the beginning, but you can take so much more speed that you would think through here. And the visuals of the track here are a bit weird. So when you're here and already on the throttle, you think you're going to run out wide because you're just going too fast, but no, just keep the foot down, keep the steering lock on, you will go around it quite nicely. And yeah, your exit point should be this wide curb here, which is quite invisible again when you're going around it. That's why it maybe tricks you into that you have to slow down, that you're going to run out wide, but no, don't worry, just stay on the throttle. Let the car run wide here, go over this curb, and you will make it. Next corner, again, you want to shoot to the left side immediately. You don't want to stay on the right here. And as for braking point references, again, number 2 board, number 1 board, but those can go away, so use this red curb here, and just after the red and white thing begins, go on the brakes. Yeah, I am again a bit soon, but again, a nicely cambered corner. Do take a lot of inside curb. As you can see here, I am totally over the curb. You want to do the same thing. And as soon as you reach the apex, again, go on the throttle, the camber will keep you in, and you can run over the exit curb. I even got a bit wide. It doesn't slow you down that much, so it's still okay. It's still fine. And as for the final corner, yeah, this one is tricky if this is gone. You can use this white thing, white paint on the fence here, but you have to brake before it, so it's a really bad marker because I brake around between the middle in between the 3 and the 2 board. So if those 2 are gone, yeah, you will have to use this white thing here, and yeah, it will be a bit tricky to spot. I mean, you can spot it quite nicely, but it will be tricky to get the correct braking point where you need to go on the brake. So it will take patience when those boards are gone. As for turn-in, I'm still, yeah, around before this gray patch of sand, I start aiming for the inside curb. I was maybe a bit soon on this attempt. You want to go wider around it, turn in hard, go over the inside curb, and you want to flatten the exit line as much as possible. I botched this attempt quite hard because, yeah, there is a very long straight after this. So you really do want to go a late turn in, go deep onto this inside curb, and flatten your exit line as much as possible. And yeah, just stamp on the throttle then and run over start finish line. So yeah, this was a lap around Laguna Seca. I hope you enjoyed it. If you prefer this style of the guide, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I can revert to the previous style, but I think this will be a bit shorter, a bit more informative. And yeah, as always, leave a like if you like the video, subscribe if you want to keep yourself updated on the upcoming videos of this series, and yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.